From onboarding new hires to running payroll to managing insurance and employee benefits, human resources can get really overwhelming really quickly. As a busy business owner, we know you don't have time to sort through it all.
That's where we come in. As the team behind Core Business Resources, a niche HR consulting firm, we have over 50 years of combined experience with helping business owners and managers navigate all things HR.
And don't worry, our podcast will be way more fun than reading an HR handbook.
Which you need, by the way.
On this podcast, we'll answer questions about all things HR, like, is my business too small to offer insurance to my team?
Or is it time to bring my staff back into the office?
Or do I really have to worry about diversity?
I'm Aaliyah, the CEO and founder of Core Business Resources, or CBR HR.
I'm Megan, lead HR consultant for CBR.
And I'm Liz, CBR's HR and insurance and benefits specialist.
And together, we're your human resource. Hello, everyone. So in today's podcast, we're going to be talking about what is a hiring avatar and why do you need one? Not James Cameron avatar, hiring avatar. So I remember years ago, I was going to some SHRM webcast, and they had this concept about using a hiring avatar. I guess in marketing, an avatar is your ideal customer. But in the HR world, our avatar is in reference to the ideal candidate that you're looking for based on whatever this job is that you have created. So you can imagine my excitement when I first kind of walked into this seminar and they were talking about, they allowed us to each create our own avatars. And so I remember I was kind of in there. It just had first started hearing about like avatars in gaming. Mm-hmm. So I decided to make my head like purple skin and gold hair and this really great cool top on. I mean, this was like a fierce avatar. I was really excited about this. But it was a great seminar because I just had never thought about the idea of, in preparation for hiring, thinking about those characteristics of who is this person that I'm looking for? What are those professional characteristics or personal characteristics? Because it really helps you to think through the role, what you're looking for, what you need. And then when you go and actually start interviewing, it makes it a lot easier for you to actually figure out who that person is. So in today's podcast, as with all of our podcasts, they are inspired by songs. And so, I wanted to think through, I was listening the other day to Sam Cooke. And, we need just a nice little soulful, it's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. I just felt that. I felt that. And what it reminded me is this idea, which Liz constantly reminds me about, that we have to push ourselves forward. In HR, we have these traditions that how we function, how we work. And with an avatar, hiring avatar, it's looking forward. It's thinking about a new way of recruitment, essentially. So that's what our topic is today. Okay. So I think that it's kind of important. I want to first just define what an avatar is. I want to kind of make sure that we're all clear on that. So the really cool thing is the word avatar comes from the Hindu language, and it means a bodily representation on earth. Isn't that beautiful? I love that. So now, of course, we've pushed past that. Once again, the modern definition really comes from gaming and making some cool representation of yourself, which is a lot of fun. But ultimately, in this case, our hiring avatar is what is that representation of whatever that new role is that you're looking for? And how would you best describe it? I think that it's important to mention that when you're describing the new hire, we do have to say this. Let's just stop for a second and make sure we're all on the same page. It is important to avoid using characteristics that are for protected classes. So we're not going to create the idea of who this person is based on their race or their gender or their religion. It's the characteristics for the work that they're doing. That's what we're going to focus on today.
Yeah, well, let's dig into that a little bit and talk about the characteristics that you can use when you're making a hiring avatar.
There you go.
Yeah. So some of them are the ones that you think of naturally. So education, what type of degree should this person have?
Right.
What type of professional experience should they have? What have they done before? What industries have they worked in? What certifications do they need to have? Like beyond just a college degree, are there, certifications that they got after that they need? What's their temperament? That's one that people don't think about.
That's huge in our world, for sure.
It really is. It's not just experience, but it's the type of person that will fit well in your role and really asking those questions.
You know what else it is too, though, Megan? It's if the role requires them to do specific work, like for all of us, we're working with our clients. We have so many different businesses that we work with. And we know some of our clients require a little extra patience. And so, knowing that about the work that they're doing and who they're going to be working with, especially like as is for our company, that's important also.
Yeah. So knowing their work strategy, their work style.
Yes.
And then one that we often don't hear a lot about that you should also think about is skills in transition. So these are skills that you are going to go into it recognizing they might not have yet, but you're willing to train them or you're willing to show them how to do these things.
Sure.
Because I think a lot of times companies just come in and they'll say, I want someone who can do everything already. And that might not be realistic for you. So building an avatar means dreaming, but it also means being realistic too.
So what is great about this is that you can take these traits to build a job description for this role. This will be really easy because at this point you have just determined the skills and qualifications you're looking for. So all you really need to do now is to formalize it in a job description and make it a certain style. And also make sure that you get all the sign-off from all your hiring managers and leaders of your organization, as well as HR if they're not already involved. And then have HR add compensation ranges and benefits associated to make it into an official job description.
Really important.
Lastly, make sure you go back to the company's organization chart. Confirm where this person belongs, who they report to, and if they have anybody reporting to them.
That's important, Liz. That often doesn't happen where we have companies or clients who their org chart is dated. And so they've hired 3 or 4 people. They're not represented in the org chart. Keeping that updated is really important.
Or people have been long gone.
That's true too. Yes. It goes both ways.
Yes. So based on your job description and feedback from management, make sure, like Aaliyah said, update your organization chart. And make sure this new recruit belongs in this organization if they fit well. And I must mention that the hiring avatar is can be considered a description of a unicorn.
Sometimes.
Can be. But because it encompasses all the skills and characteristics that you're looking for, maybe wish for. But it's also important to remember the 80-20 rule.
Yes.
If you find a candidate that has 80% of the characteristics that you're looking for and has all of your non-negotiables, then you should consider that person.
Yeah.
It's also really
and make them into a unicorn.
It also is helpful in dating, I hear.
We use the term unicorn a lot because we will sit down with someone who's developing an avatar and we'll say, you do realize you're looking for a unicorn, right? This sort of magical creature that might not exist. And they'll always laugh at that. But it's true. But developing an avatar, you should dream a little bit. Who would you really like to put in your role? And maybe that person is out there. You don't know if you don't look, but the 80-20 rule definitely comes into play as well.
For sure. So this idea is that this hiring avatar becomes part of your recruitment strategy.
Yes.
And so this becomes the first step. Before even thinking about a job description or a job ad, don't even touch that. Don't even think about that. First, just think, what are these characteristics? What does it look like? Who is this person? How would I craft this person? It's not going to give you an actual individual. It's going to give you an idea of an individual. And it's also going to really ensure that this person has the characteristics that they need to do their job well is represented in that avatar. That's really what's most important. I think many business owners go straight from, oh my gosh, we're short-staffed. What do I do? Immediately go hire. And they don't take that time to just slow down a little bit and really know who and what they're looking for. And by taking that time to ensure that you know what the background, experience, and those sort of interpersonal skills that we all have to look for that are going to be ideal for this role, what are those? It's going to save you some time down the road.
Yeah. And I think a lot of clients will say, well, aren't, those things we mentioned at the beginning standard? Don't you need those for every single person? And you do. There are some standards that you need, but really your avatar should be customized for every role. It should be a little bit different. You should go out and do your research. Look at what other people who are hiring similar roles, what are they looking for? Incorporate that into what you're looking for as well. Get as specific as possible as you can be when you're developing that avatar. And it will help you when you're out in the recruitment world
Mhm.
recognize that person when they're sitting in front of you.
Yeah. Make it a lot easier. So it's time. Okay. We have an avatar for our outsource HR consultant, which is what we are.
Yeah.
But I thought, you know what? It's time to refresh it. It's time to update it. And let's go ahead and take this podcast. Let's make some time and let's create one live
Okay.
during this podcast to help our audience really understand how this tool should be used
Okay.
and what this exercise is like. It's not tremendously difficult, but it does take some time to think through this. Now, full disclosure, we do this every day, so this is probably going to be a little easier for us. But, taking some time to slow down and strategically think about this role is really important.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start first with, we have an actual CBR hiring avatar template,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to actually fill this out today. So the first question is, what is the role? So we're going to call this full-time outsource HR consultant. That's our role. And so as we are in this role, we know some of these skills that we would be looking for our next new hire. So we're going to kind of think of it that way.
Okay.
So our first question or first item in the template is the easiest one, education. So what do you guys think should be the education that we're looking for? What is that floor that we should list there for education?
My first thought is a bachelor's degree.
Mhm.
I feel like most of us sitting at this table actually don't have a bachelor's degree in
Mhm.
human resources.
Mhm.
We all sort of fell into this
That's
from
true.
other career paths. So that
Absolutely.
doesn't really matter the major necessarily if they have the operational experience, but generally a BA degree. Someone with an associate's is fine as well, as long as they have that sort of history of operational or business
Totally
experience.
agree. Okay, so let's talk about professional experience. What are those skills that are transferable from whatever they've been doing to being able to be successful at what we do on a daily basis? To me, the biggest one that just pops out immediately is writing. We do a ton of writing. In HR, all of the communications, handbooks, standard operating protocols. Communication, just yesterday, I helped an owner create an open enrollment announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we're interacting with an employee, being able to ensure that we're able to communicate, speak the King's English, type the King's English, making sure that we're appropriately communicating is a big part of our job. So having that writing background is definitely going to give anybody in this role a foot up for sure. Any other professional experience characteristics that we should be looking for?
OCD.
OCD.
In payroll.
I think that's interpersonal.
Okay.
For sure.
Payroll experience.
Payroll for sure.
We do a lot of payroll.
Oh my gosh. Yes. That would be wonderful to have that background. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think for me and you, Liz, we came into this with operational experience as well. That's not necessarily part of HR, but we had been a part of managing businesses before. And I think even though we're HR, we have been brought into the room sometimes when there's these operational challenges. So that's huge also.
Yeah. Of course, HR skills, if you had those.
Oh, for sure.
Those are ideal.
Mhm.
Definitely.
But just another sort of skill that you can transfer from another job would be research.
Oh,
Do
yes.
a ton of researching and
Yes.
vetting to make sure what you're finding out in the world is accurate and applicable to the situation. And you have to be quick with it. You can't bill a client for 5 hours of reading. You've got to figure it out very quickly and get back to them. And so that's a big part of
I
it.
definitely appreciate that. That's for sure. So we think about industry experience, kind of really specific to human resources and bringing that to the table. I think, to me, payroll could have been either a professional experience or industry experience. So we can call payroll that can go under that area as well. But what other sort of human resources industry experience do you think is helpful? I think, going back to writing, we think about crafting handbooks, big part of our work. People often think that we use templates to write. That's interesting. There's general boilerplate information that we use, that are pretty typical in our handbooks. And there's a general strategy for handbooks, but we've also, have to customize it based on the client. So having that experience, I think, it's huge also. Standard operating protocols, all that communication.
Manuals, yeah.
Definitely.
Code of conduct, things like that.
Definitely.
My favorite part of HR is the empathetic human side of it. So I think having the industry experience of employee counseling is huge.
Yes,
Being able to be approachable and talk to people and employees from every level is very crucial.
Yeah, I think sometimes, Megan, you often say this, HR often gets a bad rep that we're not empathetic.
Yes.
And I think that the best HR people are.
Yes.
You still have protocols and policies that you have to uphold, but to be able to do so, with that empathetic lens is really important as well. And I think compliance, just any background understanding and knowing compliance and regulations, the research that you're referring to, we don't have 50 states' employment laws memorized in our brains. Of course not, but we know quickly how to access this information. There are some states like California, which we do because we have to. But I think that the compliance and the regulation background is really definitely something that's transferable for sure. It's interesting. I think the temperament is another topic that probably isn't really talked about enough. The idea is that what is required? What is the attitude? What is the personality of how this person is going to show up on a daily basis to be successful in our organization or for anyone that's completing this avatar in your organization? This is not thought about a lot. And I think the idea behind it is you do know what's required on a daily basis to work to, especially for us, filling this out for ourselves, doing this work. What's required? What type of person is required? What are those characteristics? But if you don't think about it and you hire someone and you don't see the person that's showing up in a way that's patient, you don't find a way to really vet whether that's correct, it could cause you long-term issues because that person doesn't have the temperament. We've recently had a client who had hired somebody who literally, threw something, during the course of their work. I mean, it's completely unacceptable. Lack of patience is for sure an issue. So I think it's important for us to also make sure, for anyone that's using this avatar, to think about temperament as well.
Yeah, people will often say, well, they were great on paper. We're talking about skills that are not on paper, actually, that you're looking for.
That is true.
That you won't see from a resume, but you will see from those good communication and that, you did that work,
yes.
When you were creating your avatar.
Yeah, and thinking of the temperament can help you design specific interview questions.
That's a
yes,
great point.
Like
absolutely.
scenarios and how would you do in this situation? How does that make you feel?
Yes.
How do you normally react?
Exactly. So I think the next item or next skill or characteristic that we're looking at is interpersonal skills. Communication, we are talking literally all day long.
Yeah.
So whether it's either to ourselves or to myself, to have my moments with myself, but amongst ourselves, or whether we're talking to our clients or their teams, we are the heads in the computer sometimes for some of our clients who can come and send their teams to speak to us. Being able to communicate, being able to listen is huge. Do you guys think of anything else that you feel like is really, an interpersonal skill that shows up pretty consistently?
OCD again?
We'll call that well organized. Let's call that well organized.
Attention to detail.
I like that. There you go.
So a big thing about being a consultant is, you're not an employee of any of these companies. And so you're billing for their time. So you need to be very disciplined with your work that you do. When you get in to do their work, you're trying to bill as least that you can for the most output and be very honest about that. We also work virtually, so there's no one around to see you on task or off task.
Right.
So you have to be very disciplined and trustworthy with what you're doing every day.
So
And especially in a consulting environment, they don't know you. They don't see you. And they kind of come sometimes with an extra little bit of not trust of this person who doesn't work for your organization. You've got to be able to convey that trustworthiness too.
It's so funny. We see our clients from day one to, like 6 months in. And it's completely different, but at that point in time, we've earned their trust.
Yes.
We've shown up.
We're very suspicious on day one.
Right.
R2 or 3.
Are you?
Who are you?
Heads in the computer. And so I think the next one, I think Megan, you talked about it before, skills in transition.
Yes.
So, for a lot of business owners, and definitely for us, there's great talent that's out there. And maybe they don't have that 80-20 rule. Maybe they don't have every single thing that you're looking for, but, skills in transition, I think, is a big one where if they have any exposure to this particular skill, I think the biggest thing is insurance is now becoming more and more of the work that we do, supporting benefits administration for any of our clients. And so licensing in benefits or insurance is huge for us. But if you don't have the license on the way in, that's okay. That's something that, we can definitely support anyone who's interested in getting licensed later. What do you guys think about that?
Absolutely. Also just presentation skills. So if maybe you've not had to put together certain presentations, that's a skill where we would sort of show you how we do that and train you. so that we're presenting ourselves to the client the way that we like. And I feel like every company probably has their own way that they like to do that.
For
So
sure.
that's a pretty popular skill in transition.
Yeah. I think the nuance for us as outsource HR teams is that we're presenting virtually.
Yeah.
Which is definitely different. You're having to ensure that, you're being able to put whatever that deck is or the presentation up, make sure that you're engaging. That can be very challenging when you're doing all of that virtually. So working on that skill, I think, is something that we do a lot of and would be happy to train somebody on that also. So the next one is values. This one can feel a little difficult to describe as well. But I think ultimately values they have to align with the business, especially when it comes to us, HR. There's a lot of trust. Like we offer and provide background checks for all of our clients. And that's because there's just an honesty and integrity that is required in what we do. We are handling people's social security numbers and very private information. We're processing payroll. Yeah. We got to know who this person is. And so at least that baseline background check allows us to start to hopefully present ourselves as people that are honest and have integrity. But that is really a non-negotiable for us. Like that, that's not, that person, whoever is going to join our team has to, be an honest person, has to understand, how serious it is as far as what our job is on what we do on a daily basis and that we're protecting people's information. And to have that attitude, I think, is really, really important also. What do you guys think?
Also respect. That's a big thing.
For sure.
To have a value, you have to respect the client's time.
Yes.
And everyone's time.
And the team, as a whole, no matter who you're talking to, Liz, right? Whether it's, somebody, that's we work with teams of people. We have various retail organizations, and sometimes we're talking to somebody in maintenance or sometimes we're talking to the owner. And it's about that respect for that person as an employee and a member of the team.
Right.
It's super important.
Right.
Yeah. Probably also accuracy. What we do has to be right.
Yeah.
You're sort of leading the company down certain roads. You have to be accurate and you have to care about accuracy. So if you're sort of coming from an organization or a different line of work where maybe creativity is more looked at and accuracy less, this is going to be kind of a shift for you. You want to be accurate. You have to care about accuracy, especially when it comes to payroll.
It's non-negotiable.
It's a non-negotiable.
Let me go ahead and help you.
It's non-negotiable. You must be accurate.
For sure.
I think accountability and transparency.
That's really true. Yeah. Okay. 2 more topics we just have to touch at least. Strategy, time management, and work style. Once again, we work virtually. So, we've had people that said, I don't know that I want to be in an office. Well, that's, we're in office, 10 days a year, so that's not going to work for what we do. So, being able to work virtually, being able to be self-motivated, comfortable being on camera, all those things that just sort of how we work, being organized, being on time, joining the meeting 5 minutes early, those things that we do on a daily basis, that's really part of what that style of working has to work for them as well.
Yeah. Being able to multitask.
For sure. Yes.
I think all of our clients know that we have other clients, but you have to sort of operate like they don't.
Yes.
You're sort of ignoring that. And so when they call, you have to stop this, do that, and be completely present with them in that moment. And so there's a lot of switching back and forth, which I know is common in every job, but you're literally going over here to this company, then you're going over here to this company.
Yes,
so you're
in the same day.
In the same hour.
Yeah,
I might flip
true.
back and forth.
That's true.
And so you have to be able to do that, and that can't throw you off.
Right, for sure. So I think the last thing is licenses, certifications. Getting the human resource certification is definitely helpful. And also, like I said before, insurance licenses, that's definitely ideal. So we've just built out this hiring avatar for this next person. So this really does allow us to now go and plan moving forward, create a job description. We can create a post and really go from there.
Yeah, this is a classic example of what is so great about what we do. When I first came to CBR, I learned different ways to improve the output from clients, for clients. Sure. And also learning to be virtual.
Yes.
Being comfortable with the camera. That was an in transition thing for me.
Yes.
But the hiring avatar is another example of a tool we like to provide. And if implemented correctly, it will help our clients get a better quality person for that role and be poised and positioned to yield better operational results for the company, which of course yields what? Greater profitability.
That's right.
Yeah.
And our listeners get to download the CBR's template for the hiring avatar. Just click on download. And we hope you enjoy this podcast and happy hiring.
Happy hiring.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Your Human Resource. If you need more hands-on support from our team, visit cbrhr.com and fill out our contact form. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. We'll see you in the next episode.